Back in 2024, Chennedy Carter blindsided Caitlin Clark with a hit so dirty that the WNBA had to decide whether they even wanted her in the league. Chicago eventually let her go, and when the 2025 season came around, no WNBA team was willing to sign her. She ended up playing in Mexico and China just to keep her career alive. Later, she went on a podcast, apologized for everything that happened, and eventually got an opportunity with the Las Vegas Aces, leaving many people wondering if she had truly earned another chance. She finally got her answer when the Indiana Fever faced the Las Vegas Aces on July 5, marking Carter's first game against the Fever since that 2024 incident. It was far from the comeback story she had hoped for because Sophie Cunningham, widely seen as Caitlin Clark's biggest protector, completely shut her down and made her night a difficult one. Show Sophie some love in the comments for the way she handled Carter, and before we break down exactly how she took over that matchup, let's look back at Carter's history with Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever.
Carter and Clark. I mean, that's clearly a foul which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Chennedy Carter, I think that's going to be a flagrant one. And
back in June 2024, it was the Chicago Sky against the Indiana Fever. The ball had already gone out of bounds, the play was over, and Caitlin Clark wasn't even looking at Chennedy Carter, which is what made the whole moment so shocking. Carter squared up, planted her feet, and drove her shoulder and body straight into Clark, knocking her to the floor for absolutely no basketball reason. There was no steal to make, no rebound to battle for, and no active play happening. It was simply one player choosing to knock another player down. The referees saw it happen in real time and only called it a common foul, the same type of call you would normally see for minor contact while players fight for position under the basket. It took an official review, heavy public backlash, and likely some pressure from the league office before the WNBA upgraded the call to a flagrant one. Clark got back up and brushed it off, saying that basketball is competitive and sometimes emotions get the best of people. Carter, however, stood in front of reporters after the game and refused to answer a single question about Clark, completely shutting down the conversation.
And then Chennedy just give you an opportunity to talk about that moment between you and Caitlin. What was on that play, what was said, and kind of what led to.
Next question.
Yeah, I mean, play before Kate, it seemed like she turned to you a little bit.
Yeah.
After
I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
Did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. We're good.
Chicago didn't waste any time after that. Even though Carter was averaging 17.5 points per game, the Sky still let her walk without offering her another contract. That wasn't simply a basketball decision based on stats. It was an organization deciding that the problems off the court weren't worth the production on it. Reports from around the league at the time suggested that the locker room had been dealing with Carter's behavior for quite a while, and this was the moment it finally caught up with her. One anonymous executive described her value around the league with a single word, radioactive, and that one word explained everything that happened next. Radioactive doesn't just mean people dislike you. It means nobody wants to be associated with you when everyone is watching. All 11 of the other WNBA teams looked at Carter's game, saw her production, and still decided to pass. Every single one of them. The entire league stayed silent.
Seriously, she needs to do whatever she can to get some help, get her anger under control, where she will not have another incident like the one where she slammed into Caitlin Clark, but she's out of the league.
So in 2025, Carter ends up grinding it out overseas just to keep playing.
So in 2025, Carter had to continue her career overseas just to stay on the basketball court. She first signed with Atletas de Chihuahua in Mexico before heading to China to play for Wuhan Chengfan. She actually played extremely well there, averaging 31.4 points per game and earning the Chinese League MVP award. Those are the kind of numbers that would put her among the top scorers in the WNBA, but none of it changed anything because the league had already formed its opinion of her before she ever scored a point overseas. Then came the podcast appearances. Carter sat down with Streamer Neon and finally talked about the hip check, but this time she described it as a little "I'm here" energy tap and claimed she had been elbowed first, something she never mentioned immediately after the incident. She even compared it to Jeff Teague shoving LeBron James, as if normal NBA physical play was the same as blindsiding someone when the ball wasn't involved. She also openly admitted that she enjoys the hate, which didn't sound like someone focused on making things right. It was also a completely different approach from the player who refused to answer a single question about Caitlin Clark when the incident had just happened.
So I'm just like, it's like one of those things, like, it happens in basketball. I know people try to say, oh, it's not one of those things.
It's not a personal thing, it's a competitive thing.
It happens in basketball, and like, it's just one of those things. But like, yeah, it's kind of what happened. Then it spiraled out of control.
And then the media takes whatever narrative they want to put out.
You watch every game, every single game, to see if you can find any deflects in my game, and like, it's really nothing that you probably could say too much about. So then you have trolls, and that's why I said they're gonna be around regardless. But yeah, it was just like a nice little like tap, like, I'm here, not to like harm you or anything. You know, if you want to push somebody, you're gonna like full force.
And somehow,
despite everything that had happened, the Las Vegas Aces still decided to take a chance on Carter for the 2026 season. A team chasing another championship and looking for extra scoring off the bench chose to overlook every red flag and sign her anyway. That meant Carter's redemption game, the moment that was supposed to prove she had changed, came against the exact team and the exact player she had blindsided 2 years earlier. Here's the part that should have every other team in the league paying attention. Indiana went into halftime holding a slim 42-41 lead. The Fever were without Caitlin Clark, and the Aces were missing Aya Wilson, yet the game still felt completely even heading into the locker room. It wasn't a dominant performance by either side. It was simply two teams trading baskets through the first 2 quarters, with neither one able to create any real separation.
Also into the ballgame for the Aces is Chennedy Carter, who is one of the front runners for 6th Player of the Year. She is the best scorer off the bench right now in the league.
The first half was exactly the kind of battle you expect from a close game. Neither team managed to build a lead of more than 6 points, and Las Vegas fought its way back late in the second quarter with a 7-0 run that erased Indiana's advantage. Kelsey Mitchell led the Fever with 12 points at halftime, while Jewell Loyd matched her with 12 of her own for the Aces. It took a Lexi Hull jumper right before the buzzer to give Indiana a narrow 1-point lead heading into the break. Without that shot, the Fever would have gone into the locker room trailing instead of leading.
6 seconds to work with if they get it here. I would deny Kelsey Mitchell and not let her catch it. She's got it. Loyd and Young make her give it up. Hull off the bounce, mid-range, got it!
Indiana came into this game after a 7-day break, but Stephanie White didn't treat it like time off. Instead, the team used those days to get back to the basics after weeks of intense attention following the Alyssa Thomas incident. Aaliyah Boston even described the break as super great because the busy schedule usually doesn't give players enough time to reset and refocus. White shared a similar view, saying the team had a great week of practice and that the work would eventually show on the court. Still, a strong week of practice doesn't mean much if you start the game slowly, and for the first half, Indiana looked exactly like a team still trying to shake off the rust. Nothing about those opening 2 quarters suggested what was about to happen. The game was tied at 47 early in the third quarter, and it still felt like the same tense, evenly matched battle from the first half. Then everything changed in an instant. Indiana exploded with a 21-8 run over the final 7 minutes of the quarter, and Las Vegas had no answer. The Aces made just 3 of their 11 shots in the third quarter and missed every 3-point attempt, while Indiana's defense turned stop after stop into fast break opportunities at the other end.
Got a fingertip in there. Loose ball, and Monique with the hustle play will get Mitchell a clean look, and she'll knock down the triple. Kelsey Mitchell was the biggest reason that run turned the game into a blowout. She scored 11 points by herself in the third quarter, consistently getting to the free throw line, attacking right off the catch, and forcing the Aces defense to keep rotating until it completely fell apart. She finished the night with 27 points, marking her 3rd straight game with at least 25 points.
Every basket she scored in that third quarter came at the exact moment Las Vegas desperately needed a defensive stop but simply couldn't get one.
Hey, Coach, what was your assessment of the second half? I feel like it was pretty active, good showing in the first, or would you point to unforced turnovers or offensive rebound battle there? What did you see in the second half?
Boards definitely hurt us, but I thought we, quite frankly, ran out of gas. But we looked tired. Couldn't muster up enough energy to sprint into screens offensively. But the O boards definitely hurt us in the third quarter. Gets to be a compounding effect when you're not getting stops or they're getting second, third, fourth opportunities. It's just super deflating.
Las Vegas simply couldn't knock down shots from beyond the arc, finishing just 4 of 19 from three-point range, a rough 21.1% that only got worse as the game wore on and fatigue started to show. Indiana also controlled the boards, out-rebounding the Aces 39-30, including a dominant 13-6 advantage on the offensive glass. After the game, Becky Hammon admitted that the rebounding battle really hurt her team and said the players looked tired in the second half. Tired teams don't win loose ball battles, and they certainly don't close out quickly on shooters, which allowed Indiana's role players to keep adding to the lead. By the time the third quarter buzzer sounded, the Fever were ahead 68-55, and the outcome already felt decided in every way that mattered. But hidden inside that same 21-8 run was another story developing in real time, because every time Chennedy Carter touched the ball during that stretch, something was happening to her that had nothing to do with the scoreboard.
Coach, you just talked about running out of gas, but in these second halves where things kind of fall flat for you guys, what are some of the commonalities that you're noticing?
Well, in the third, like I said, I mean, our offense has to help our defense to a certain degree. That's the fastest team in the league, so far as pace and push and pace. So when we're either taking quick shots or not good shots, they're just off to the races and it puts your defense behind right away.
Once Indiana got out in transition, the Aces' defense was immediately playing from behind. Then there was the number that stood out more than anything else on the final box score, 0. That's what appeared next to Chennedy Carter's name, and if you're an Aces fan, it's a number that should be hard to ignore. This was the same Carter who entered the game as the WNBA's leading scorer off the bench, averaging big numbers and building a reputation as an instant scoring threat. Las Vegas signed her for games exactly like this, especially with Aya Wilson unavailable and someone else needing to step up offensively. Instead, Carter played 15 minutes, attempted only 2 shots, missed both of them, and finished with 0 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. That wasn't simply an off-shooting night. It was the performance of a player who never found any offensive rhythm from start to finish. Think about the role Carter was expected to play coming into this game. Vegas brought her in to provide instant offense off the bench, someone who could score quickly whenever the team needed a spark. Instead, she looked completely out of sync, almost as if she didn't want to be on the floor, and the Aces finished with a season-low 68 points while the player expected to ignite the offense had no impact at all.
Number 7 in black. Raven trying to go to work on her. Hines Allen swings it around to Cunningham. Top 5 in the WNBA from downtown. Raven.
Sophie Cunningham's assignment for the night was Chennedy Carter, and it was obvious that wasn't by accident. Both players checked into the game during many of the same stretches, which meant every time Carter tried to get involved, Cunningham was already waiting for her. That wasn't just how the substitutions happened to work out. It was clearly part of Stephanie White's game plan to make sure Carter never found any comfort on the floor. Cunningham battled through screens all game, denied passes before Carter could even get into position, and turned every touch into a tough, physical battle instead of allowing an easy rhythm shot. That's the difference between simply defending someone and completely taking them out of the game. Most defenders focus on contesting shots, but Cunningham made sure Carter rarely even caught the ball in a place where she could shoot. She chased her through screens, beat her to the catch spot again and again, and never gave her any space to settle in. Cunningham didn't just dominate on defense either. She added 9 points while shooting 3 for 6 from beyond the arc, proving she could contribute offensively without taking away from her defensive assignment. That's the type of complete two-way performance that may not always make the highlight reels, but it plays a huge role in winning basketball games.
Game, Sophie, and pretty much everywhere you guys go, right? Fever Nation is supporting you, and you guys are giving it back. What's it like to have this kind of environment everywhere you're going, even when you're away from home?
Man, I know a lot of teams say that every game is a home game. Sorry, I was just saying if we got that charge call or not. We didn't. But I really do believe that. I think Fever, we have the best fans in the W. Worldwide, I really think. Wherever we go, it's a home game for us. And so we just try to put on, work hard, play hard, and, we just got to work on our consistency. They show out for us, and we need to show out for them.
What makes this whole story come full circle is the timing. Sophie Cunningham stepped into the role of Caitlin Clark's protector when the league kept allowing opponents to take cheap shots at her. Now, 2 years later, she's the player who completely shut down the same Chennedy Carter who blindsided Clark back in 2024. That's not the kind of coincidence that needs much explanation. It also makes this game even more important because both Cunningham and Carter are right in the middle of the 6th Player of the Year race this season. Carter may have built up the stronger scoring numbers earlier in the year, but performances like this strengthen Cunningham's case. She didn't just outplay Carter, she completely limited the very player she's competing against for the award, and that kind of impact should matter more than scoring extra points in garbage time after a game has already been decided.
Wins the tip and gets him the possession. Cunningham, deep three. Got it! Her second of the ball game.
Carter didn't simply have a poor shooting night. She was completely taken out of the game, and Sophie Cunningham was the reason every possession turned into a dead end. Taking just 2 shots in 15 minutes wasn't a matter of bad luck. It was the result of a player being chased off the ball, denied every passing lane, and never allowed to get into any kind of rhythm. That's the image that really stands out from this game. Carter sitting on the bench in the 4th quarter, watching Indiana pull further ahead with 0 points next to her name on the scoreboard. So what does a championship-level team look like when its best player is sitting on the bench in street clothes? Indiana answered that question, and the result wasn't pretty for Las Vegas.
They're playing their 4th game in 8 days. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus only played 7 minutes in that first half. She's back on the floor, and Boston with her first triple. Boston trying to go to work. Spins away from the double and gets a couple of bounces to go. Boston's footwork inside. Look, she takes those 2 hard dribbles to the midline. Spins away. That soft touch gets a kind roll.
Aaliyah Boston finished the game with 18 points and 10 rebounds while shooting 7 of 13 from the field, but the stat that really stands out is her 3 for 4 performance from beyond the arc. That matched the season high she had already set against Atlanta, and at this point, it no longer looks like a fluke. Boston's ability to stretch the floor completely changes the way Indiana's offense operates because defenders can no longer afford to leave her alone and crowd the paint. Las Vegas had to make that decision all night, whether to protect the basket or defend the three-point line, and every time they guessed wrong, Boston made them pay. That's how she ended up with 18 points and 10 rebounds while proving she's no longer the kind of player teams can ignore from long range.
That'll be a blast. There has been a Connecticut player on the roster of 21 of the 29 WNBA champions. Snakes in behind it. Smith on the drive, blocked by Boston initially.
Kelsey Mitchell finished the night with 27 points, marking her 3rd straight game with at least 25. What made the performance even more impressive was that it wasn't driven by hot shooting. She went 7 for 18 from the field, shooting under 40%, but made up for it by attacking the basket relentlessly. Mitchell earned 12 trips to the free throw line and converted 10 of them. That's the sign of a guard taking control of the game through pure aggression, constantly putting pressure on the defense and forcing foul after foul until the Aces had no answer.
Mitchell off the screen to that left hand. Got a fingertip in there. Loose ball, and Monique with the hustle play will get Mitchell a clean look, and she'll knock down the triple. Harris will push 3-on-2. Billings leaves it for Mitchell. Good trail triple for Indy.
Lexi Hull finished with 10 points while shooting 5 of 10 from the field, and her biggest contributions came right at the buzzer. The first came at the end of the first half when she banked in a 14-foot floater just as time expired. The basket was waved off at first, but after an official review, it was counted. That shot gave Indiana a 1-point lead heading into the locker room instead of a 1-point deficit, which was a huge difference in such a tightly contested first half. Her second buzzer beater came later in the game, forcing up a shot as the clock ran all the way down. Both baskets came at crucial moments, creating completely different reactions around the arena depending on which team the fans were cheering for.
Hines Allen. Shot clock winding down. Hull gonna have to jack one. And gets it to go!
That's 2 buzzer beaters!
He Fever's depth didn't end with Sophie Cunningham. Monique Billings played 21 minutes and finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds, including a big offensive rebound off Aaliyah Boston's missed free throw that kept an important possession alive when Las Vegas desperately needed a stop. Raven Johnson also contributed 6 points and 6 rebounds in 22 minutes. She was still inexperienced enough to make a rookie mistake by grabbing her own tip on a jump ball, resulting in a turnover, but those were meaningful minutes in a game that mattered. Boston later talked about how much the week off helped the team, explaining that the schedule usually gives them only a couple of days between games, leaving almost no time to reset. This time, they finally had a real break, and she said she wouldn't trade it because it gave everyone a chance to refocus before the grind started again. That renewed focus showed exactly what happened in the third quarter, with every player in the right position, everyone doing their job on defense, and nobody waiting for one star to carry the offense alone.
Fever dub!
First dub on the road.
Remember the Alyssa Th. Tomas incident from last season and how it seemed to leave Indiana looking like a team that could be pushed around. This version of the Fever doesn't play that way anymore. This wasn't just one player getting hot for a night. It was the entire roster, from the starters to the players coming off the bench, proving they can win a tough road game without depending on one superstar. Indiana now sits in 6th place, holding a 3-game cushion in the standings, and the rest of the league knows Caitlin Clark is still set to return to this same locker room. The final score was 84-68, with Indiana winning by 16, on the road without Clark, while also earning the franchise's first regular season victory in Las Vegas after losing there 11 straight times. Meanwhile, Chennedy Carter finished with 0 points on the very stage that was supposed to be her redemption story. Now Clark is getting ready to return to a team that has already shown what it's capable of without her. Boston, Mitchell, Hull, and Cunningham have already sent a message to the rest of the league. Add Clark back into that lineup, and every opponent should be paying close attention. Show Sophie Cunningham some love in the comments for the way she shut down Carter, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest stories and game coverage. Check out the next video on your screen, and we'll see you in the next one.